everybody. Thank you so much for attending our session. I am Stacia Gar. I'm co-founder of Red Thread Research. We are a human capital research firm. We do membership, we do community, and most importantly, we get to talk to amazing people like the two women that I'm joined by today. So I'm going to let them do a brief introduction of themselves. So Jamie, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Yeah, good morning. I'm Jamie Nielsen. I'm the Chief People Officer with Trimble. Trimble is a hardware, software, and services company. We provide solutions for companies that connect the physical and digital worlds, serving industries such as construction, agriculture, geospatial, and transportation.
Great. And then Amber, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your organization?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. Amber Graywall with Boston Consulting Group. I'm a managing director and partner and their chief talent officer. And I think many of us probably work with many of your companies here, but what we do is we provide management and strategy consulting to many clients, public sector, private sector, all over the world.
Great, thank you. Well, I mentioned that I have the pleasure of speaking to a lot of folks, and part of the reason that I was asked to join these ladies today is that much of my work focuses on AI, skills, DEIB, and people analytics. And we're going to have a chance to talk about all of those areas in our conversation today. Where I want to start us, though, in terms of setting a little bit of context is, we heard from the folks at Deloitte around what are some of the human capital trends that we're seeing across the world. But there's also what we call at Red Thread mega trends. You can't just have one side of trends, you got to have bigger trends. And the trends that we like to talk about are those that are impacting all of us throughout the world and how those then translate to HR. So we're talking about things like the uneven economy. So, back in December, we're like, oh, it's going to all turn around in 2024, and then it seemed like that, and then now, I don't know what's happening. but that's impacting our businesses, right? Other things that are impacting our businesses are things like the significant generational shift that we're seeing right now. This year, in 2024, for the first time, we're going to have more folks from Gen Z, than baby boomers. That is a substantial shift. And I'm not a big generational person, but if you're just thinking about kind of size of people and what experiences they grew up with, and importantly, what technology they grew up with, that's a pretty major change. We're also seeing a lot of geopolitical unrest, and that is impacting many of our folks in HR. And it's almost like a third rail, we don't want to talk about it, aligned with the power struggles, which is another thing I'm going to talk about. But those are things that are really impacting folks. If you have, one of the things we were hearing as a research firm is if you had people who were in Ukraine and Russia when the war broke out, and they're on the same team, how do you handle that? Right? These are real problems that are coming home to roost in our corporations today. And the final one is that we are seeing a lot about is power struggles. So meaning that there was a conversation with the Deloitte folks around executives are seeing one thing, and their people are often seeing something else. And they have different desires, whether that's return to office, that's how we're using AI, et cetera. So a lot of things that are happening. And I think we'll kind of see some elements of those woven through what we talk about today. But the big thing, of course, that everyone's talking about is technological change and Gen AI. So a lot of our conversation today is going to focus there. So I want to first start by asking you all about your priorities, because that's what we're talking about today is, what are your priorities and how are you using AI to solve those? So can you talk a little bit about your priorities and challenges? I'll start with you first. Actually, Amber, I was going to start with you first.
So in terms of what are our challenges and how are we prioritizing, maybe I kind of set it back a little just to say, how have our talent challenges changed? And how are we evolving them? When I think about just BCG itself, like many of you, the biggest, I would say, change is that change is constant. So constantly just dealing with change with people, with technology, with the advancement of technology, being able to respond to employees in a much faster way, the way we need to engage, the level of competition. So I think many of us are really dealing with how do you constantly deal with change and respond to that. But for us also, 60-year-old company, our model had been really simple. You go out to campus, you get some of the smartest talent in the world, and you grow them to become partners. It was very simple, and we did that, and we did it very, very successfully. What we're also realizing is that because the business landscape is changing, how much we need to constantly change and evolve. So our skill dynamics has changed. We're here to talk about skills, and we are dealing with it real life. So, we've gone from, just having generalist consultants to more T-shaped consultant, deep in industry, functional expertise, but then evolving from that, dealing with, more technical talent. We're hiring AI talent, we're hiring talent in generative AI, digital capabilities, deep industry expertise. So we knew we needed to evolve our talent strategy and being able to then not just have one type of value proposition, a value proposition that could be personalized to many types of skills and talent. So I think, again, change and being able to adapt to that change. 2, being able to have a very different talent mix than we had in the past. And thirdly is the talent pool itself. We don't have enough talent. So I think like many of you, we are dealing with that challenge as well, is how do you continue to find talent when we're at a 15-year low in skills shortages. So continuing to make sure that we can find the talent, retain the talent, motivate that talent, and continue to evolve our culture continues to be a top priority.
Great. And we're going to talk in just a moment about how you're handling that. But I want to go to you, Jamie. Can you tell us a little bit about the priorities that you're focused on, the challenges you're trying to address?
Yeah, I would say it's not all that dissimilar than what Amber just said, but being a technology company and the pace at which technology is continuing to advance is like we've never seen before. And so when we look at our employees and the skill sets needed, 5 years ago, it was easy to predict the skills that were going to be needed for the future of the work we were doing. Mm-hmm. It is a lot harder now because the pace and change of the technology growth is happening so incredibly fast. And so we've recognized that from a skills perspective, identifying those gaps, that needs to happen more quickly. And so we'll talk in a minute about how we're addressing that. But when you think about the infrastructure that supports everything you do, it is outdated to how fast technology and AI is changing things. And I had a aha moment the other week when I was at a different conference, and so I'll steal just a quick anecdote that a speaker shared that I think will really resonate. And he talked about the institution of marriage, and he said, if you think about the institution of marriage, that was created when the lifespan was 25 years of age. And so people would get married young, they would have children, and they would pass. And the institution of marriage was created based off that 25-year lifespan. And now, with medical technology, the life expectancy in the next 5 years is going to increase up to 100. Yet the institution of marriage is still based on the foundation of 25 years. And so if you just think about that and make that relative to everything we do with people in the world, I think it has you going, here's how I need to think about my people priorities.
So don't go home and tell your spouses about this.
It was funny. You looked around the audience, and there were a lot of like, I get what's happening at home.
Oh, Amber, can we go back to you and talk a little bit? You mentioned that you're seeing skills gaps and scarcity. You're having to rethink your talent strategy. Can you tell us a little bit about how you're doing that?
Yeah. So I think for us, we've always really had a culture of learning, a culture of development, and now it's taking that and really taking it to the next level. So as part of our reskilling, upskilling aspect, we have something called BCG Pathways, and this allows talent and different cohorts of talent to personalize and learn and have these journeys based on their career. If someone has passion to be in climate and sustainability versus generative AI, energy, there's so many paths and industries, and they can choose that. They can clearly look at, okay, if I'm a consultant today and I want to be a principal, how do I get there? What are those journeys? What is those learnings? What are those experiences? Who are the mentors that I can connect with? So really doubling down on learning and development, more personalized in these career pathways. So that's one. So that's a lot of the focus internally on internal development. But we also realize that there's a talent gap externally. You know, many people, even in high school, they don't know, okay, what is management consulting? And I can be a strategy consultant and I could go help CEOs. Many of them don't know that. And that's also a thing. How do we get external and have even high school kids start thinking about a career in management consulting? And I mean, it's really amazing, right? You have 23-year-olds that are working with the board, working with CEOs, and that learning and experience, but a lot of people don't know about it. So one of the things we've done is actually build an external curriculum to educate high school students, campus students that are not aware. I mean, MBAs, yes, they know us very, very well, but outside of, how do we broaden the talent pool? So we've created a MOOC-like experience, which is called One Day at BCG. I recommend taking a look at it. It is a program, Gen AI, design thinking, strategy consulting, really interacting to see what is it like to be a BCG consultant? How would you go solve the problem? How would you get a solution? We have people that are spending 40 hours with our brand. It's free content, free learning. And many times people, when they graduate the program, they actually put it on LinkedIn and said, I did a virtual internship with BCG. So it's going really well. We've had over 500,000 students go through this already, return to work, really focusing on diversity as well. And now we have many universities that are leveraging it as curriculum for their student. So one of the things, again, developing the talent inside, but also broadening our pool in the market because we know there's a skill gap. How do we train people externally to have some of these skills?
Very interesting. So I think we're all going to go check that out now. Thank you for sharing. Jamie, how about you?
Yeah, we've compared some notes. You know, we're, I would say, in such an infancy stage compared to where BCG is. But at Trimble 7 years ago when I joined the organization, it was archaic. And I think I have some talent attraction leaders in the room, and they would, I think, resonate with what I'm saying. And so in 2021, when I became the Chief People Officer in 2020, and when I went to our CEO and executive team to start talking about bringing technology, in particular generative AI, into the people space, it was I think people thought I was a little crazy. And so what I would say is we got the support, and this isn't an advertisement for Eightfold, but we did go in really early when we weren't maybe even ready with the Eightfold technology. By doing so, we've been able to address a couple of challenges. One is we were losing, we had fairly low attrition, but even at that, the people we were losing, we were primarily losing them because they were looking for another opportunity. We're a global company of about 13,000 employees, and employees didn't know how to navigate their career within our own organization. And so just a quick example, by using the technology and really focusing on internal mobility, we were able to increase internal mobility from less than 20% in 2021 up to almost 30% now. Wow. So we've really been able to see how the embracing of the technology, but we're really early on. Also, like Amber said, though, we're doing things outside of Trimble as well. So we have our big professional group is highly made up of engineers. We also have domain experts. And so if anybody in the audience can raise their hand if you want to be a truck driver. Yeah.
We got
one. Nice. Yes. So, but an example there is there's a huge driver shortage right now, and Trimble technology helps shorten that driver shortage so that the turnover can be reduced for our customers. But also, truck drivers are future talent pool for us. They're domain experts that come in and help advise us on our technology. And so we are doing things with schools and colleges around how do we get better attraction for blue-collar type industry field construction workers. And a lot of that is all about our technology and using gamification to get people interested in fields that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have been.
Interesting. I'm going to stick with you, Jamie, for just a minute and then turn back to Amber. Can you talk to us a little bit about because you mentioned you were early, right? You were just getting started. So how did you help the organization prepare for or embrace AI? as you began to implement it?
Yeah. I think, there's a lot of fear with AI, especially the unknown. And so, and in particular, when you're talking about employee data and how are we going to build that trust? And we've heard a little bit about trust this morning. So I've been an early adopter of AI. I was at a conference a few years ago, and someone said, AI is going to give us the ability to have a conversation with our pets, in particular our dogs. And that was super attractive to me because I can't wait to hear what my dog has to say about my husband. And I'm probably going to be on the losing end because I think he's her favorite. But seriously, so in order to get the people to adopt it and really start thinking about how to use it, you have to get the trust in the organization. And by doing that, I think HR organizations leaning in first, because it's so much broader. It's in everything we do. You have to start building the trust and showing the employees how it will work and how it will work to their benefit. And the proof points, like I showed earlier, increased mobility, their ability to have that transparency and visibility into how their career path works. Just having a few proof points has helped to build that trust and get the organization ready.
Mm-hmm. I think an important point there is what you said about helping them see the benefit to themselves. And we all laughed at the dog comment, but there is a real personal desire for you there, and there's a real connection to what people want when it comes to careers. My personal example that I always like to share with people to get, because we have some research that shows that in particular women tend to be a little bit less willing to experiment with Gen AI, and there's a whole bunch of research underneath that on why that may be the case. But I like to talk about using Gen AI to create recipes from what's in your refrigerator. You can tell it, I've got these 4 things in my refrigerator, what's a good recipe? And it'll generate that. And telling my team that got them all using Gen AI like that. So I just want to underscore that. Whatever the what's in it for me is important. So Amber, I want to turn to you, because BCG is quite far along on its AI journey. So can you tell us a little bit about what you all are doing and how you all have prepared and taught the organization to use AI?
Yes. I think, one, being in the space that we are, we're very, very fortunate. I think that, that earlier comment about, 15% of organizations don't value the HR function, and I would say we're complete opposite, which is, our people function is a business function. It is a business model where every partner thinks they're the chief talent officer, so we have different struggles. We have consultants that feel like they have the answers to everything. So, so we're very fortunate in that aspect that our culture is a culture of learning, and it is a culture of innovation. So our talent expects it. It's part of our value proposition that we have to constantly be in the cutting edge. So, just within the last year, we have supported over 300 clients in their Gen AI journey. 20% of our revenue is already in Gen AI, and we expect that's going to double in the next 2 years. So, so it's great. It's already part of our culture. So, but you have to then make sure you're in the cutting edge, because clients don't just want you to implement something. They want to know, how are you using it? What are you doing? So we've been very fortunate in this transformation and really early adopters. But number one is creating a culture of learning, a culture of entrepreneurship, a culture of innovation. And as a part of it, co-creating with our employees. So we've had, and that message, the message of what does Gen AI mean to me as an individual? What does it mean to my team? And then what does it mean as part of a systematic organization change? So we've implemented 4 major products as part of large-scale Gen AI transformation. One is, positively supporting, leverage ChatGPT, the enterprise version. So, we have 80% of our population that leverages ChatGPT, that enterprise level. Partners and executives, not so much, but, we're role modeling that, yes, we should, but 80% are leveraging it day to day. Second thing is we've created something called Navi. And Navi leverages Gen AI to find experts, topics, research, anything that you need in the finger of your tips across the world. We've created Dexter, which, consulting, we create a lot of slides, to help generate slides, starting the basics. And then we're also leveraging note-taking meetings to have Gen AI. And through that, what we've seen is over 100,000 slides have been generated by Dexter. We have seen over 10,000 conversations happening on a weekly basis. And we've already seen an uptick in productivity gains of over 30%. So, but the big piece was we had our employees co-create and develop. And I can share a little bit about the council we have, the teams we have, but how we're actually making a culture. But that's a little bit of what we've already done and how it's being leveraged across the firm.
Okay. Yeah, let's spend a little bit more time on that because we hear a lot about AI governance councils, but maybe a little bit less about how are you using councils or getting employees involved in understanding how to use this to increase efficiency. So can you share a bit more there?
So again, I think that culture and that mindset. So we have over 100 Gen AI nodes that we call 100 nodes in over 90 offices in the world. We have 700 black belt, Gen AI black belt champions and experts that are part of driving this culture and engagement, and over 100 senior advisors. So you can imagine just these are like expert champions that are engaging, really bringing the culture. Every office, every team has this kind of participation. And then we actually also have a responsible AI council. And this council has different people from all parts of the organization, business units. I have people from my team that participate in ensuring our policies, the ethics, how we're using it, how we're using the technology, the bias reports. So there's a deep aspect of that. But also, it's really about helping people embody this part of the change that's happening. So I'll tell you some of the things we do. We have Gen AI Fridays. We have Gen AI office hours. We have Gen AI town halls. We have Gen AI, like the senior executives showing how they leverage it. Like I'll tell you my personal example. We have a worldwide officer meeting. I was just at it last week, and in that meeting, you always tell your teams what happened, what was engaging. So usually on my notepad, I take little notes, what are the key things that stood out. And then when I'm going back on the plane, then I will write this note, add these pictures. They're still time consuming. And now when I'm like, okay, third day of our officer meeting, I put all the notes, and I'm like, okay, ChatGPT, summarize all of this for me, create it personalized to my team, add the pictures, boom. Right like when I'm sitting as the conference is finishing. So, and I tell the team, by the way, this was generated by ChatGPT. So I think it's a lot of showing the culture of how we're adopting what we're doing. And obviously there's a lot we've done in technology in the HR space, but having these councils and committees have been huge for us in adoption.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Jamie, I want to come back to you and talk a little bit about data and data-driven decision-making, because data one, we can't have all this great AI without good data, but two, getting people to change their behaviors or to use some of these insights that may come from AI is a key part of this. So can you talk to us a little bit about how you all are trying to encourage your employees and managers to engage in more data-driven decision-making, particularly how you're integrating AI into that?
Yeah, it's been a journey at Trimble. Trimble's a heavy relationship-based company versus a data-driven company, even though data is king for us and our customers. Internally, we really rely on relationships. And so the journey that we've been on around data is really around ensuring data integrity, the trust of the data, garbage in, garbage out. That's the same with AI. No matter how smart generative AI is, if you don't have good data, you're not going to get good output. And when you want to use, I keep using the term, when you want to use AI, you want to use it for good, not for evil. And so you need to make sure your data is clean. Mm-hmm. And so we've been working a lot with our technology teams, with our analytic teams, with our end users around the importance of that quality. Mm-hmm. And it really is just more about, we've said this earlier, in order to people to trust and to adopt, they have to know that they're getting good information. to make those right decisions. And so for us, we're really on a data, I would say, cleaning journey to ensure that and this has been one of our challenges, and you look at all the systems that were shown earlier, if you have disparate systems and you don't have good data, you're not going to get good data to make the right decisions. So that's the journey we're on, and I think it's just showing that vision and the change that comes around that vision and getting employees to understand the importance of it to work towards that common goal.
Amber, how about you?
I mean, from a data perspective, I think, like many of us, first and foremost, is data available? And what is the quality of it, right? So for us, that has been the first foundational piece. And, I will tell you, we've had, the benefit of being a very innovative and entrepreneur company is a double-edged sword, because that just means everyone is doing innovation and have shadow technologies everywhere. And, we've actually have gone through a major undertaking of relooking at all the separate and disparate systems we have and have integrated it into one technology solution. Actually, Eightfold has been a great partner with us and building this capability for us. So this is the first time we're going to be on one single platform, but it was getting the data clean, having the foundation. But we also knew it's not just that, we needed a worker 360, candidate 360 data lake and a data layer that will be giving us this truth, because that's connected to the finance systems, it's connected to the HR systems. We need one central place for this data repository. So some of it is just starting the basics and saying, what does our tech architecture need to look like? And then what data needs to be in there? How are we going to govern it? How are we going to clean it? But like many of them, many companies, we had data in every different place. But it started with setting that foundation and rethinking our tech stack.
Can I add on to that
Absolutely.
for one quick second? Because it's such a great point, and we were talking to some Microsoft engineers last week, and we asked the question, do we have to get all of our data in one spot? So for those of you that are thinking like where Trimble's at, your data is everywhere, the perspective was because the technology is growing so fast and is so smart, if you're not already there or not already on your journey, you don't need to be. Like, you can have technology work in your favor and go to the disparate systems, and you still probably want a platform then that outputs your data. But for those, if you start now and start doing where you probably started years ago, you'll fall behind. So for those of you that are feeling the pressure of trying to get your data in one place, I think the way technology is evolving, you don't have to do that, but you certainly need to have a data strategy to ensure you're on the right journey.
Yeah. One of the things we did a study on skills and a skills strategy, and there are two things that I think are relevant from that here. First is we say just start, right? Like, everyone can feel overwhelmed by all the things that are happening right now, but you just need to get started. And the first step in getting started is being clear on what your scope and purpose is and what you're doing. So, you mentioned about some of your, your customers' challenges with getting good truck drivers or the like, or, Amber, you mentioned your skills strategy, that your talent strategy has changed as your business changes. Being clear, this is the problem we're trying to solve, and therefore that's where we're going to prioritize our efforts. Okay, I think we're pretty close to overtime, so I'm going to just wrap us up with a lightning round question for each of you. And that question is, as you think about this complex web of responsibilities and needs that are facing HR leaders now, what's the one most critical challenge you would recommend CHROs focus on solving in the next year? I'm going to go to Jamie, you first.
I will end with one, but I'm going to start with three. And it's a little bit bigger, just because I fundamentally believe mental health is a major challenge that is around the globe. Experts are predicting by 2030, mental health will be the #1 disease, and by 2040, we'll have our first mental health pandemic. The second thing is, if you haven't really focused on your future of work strategy, which includes things like skills and attracting the right talent, you're behind. And the future of work strategy isn't just getting people back to an office or whatever they're going to work. It truly is a strategy. And the third part of it that brings it back to AI is AI is a solution for all of that, in particular mental health. The mental health challenges, we will avoid a pandemic in 2040 by embracing AI to help solve that problem. And so I would think about that as a holistic strategy and use AI. And for the CHROs in the room that might be feeling like I'm not trusting it, I'm not ready, I would just really, really highly encourage you to lean in.
Thank you. Amber.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say it as one word for us in HR or even the business, which is human-centric. More than ever, this is the opportunity for us to really think about process re-engineering, our business model, our value, in aligning it to a very human-centric experience. And yes, you know, we talk about Gen AI and just, you know, I mean, AI's been there forever, but yes, Gen AI is a game changer. And I'm actually excited about it because, again, it's only here to augment. But I actually say Gen AI, the number one thing it's going to do is going to help us with relationships. It is going to bring us back to the basics because we have more time, more areas to focus on things that matter. Professional world, as well as the personal level, which is how do I focus my time on relationships? And so I'm excited about that.
Thank you. So for me, my two big nuggets from this conversation, one, there were lots of them, but if I have to bubble up two, I think, Amber, from you, it's the thoughtfulness that you all are putting around your learning and development and connecting that to the talent scarcity that you're seeing, and then how you're using technology to understand, one, what people need, but then also how you can deliver that more effectively using Gen AI and all the other tools that you mentioned. And then I think, Jamie, for you, the thing that really jumped out at me was get started. Right? Don't be paralyzed and think through what is it that we need as an organization, and let's get the process started. And then that point about mental health. I really appreciate that, and thank you. Thank you both for your time and for your thoughts today.
Thank you.
Thank you.